What's up, Weekend Warriors? We're back, baby. The podcast a little late this week. We're heading into week 11. Thursday night football kicks off in about 45 minutes. Today's a special episode. I'm going to give you a pick for tonight's game. The pick is in about 10 minutes. Give you a nice Thursday night lock to start your weekend off with a nice winner for you. So, kind of jump into things here. I have my little note card, a little handwritten notes, a little old school. Exciting week last week. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Harding brothers at the top of the standings. Jake, even with a tough matchup last week against Chris, able to pull it out, able to stay in first place. I'm in second place, same record, 7-3. Zach, 6-4. The lone 6-4 team in third, in a good spot. And then there's three teams that are 5-5: Terry, Kevin, and Pearson. Some of those teams are on the up, some of those teams are on the down. We'll get to that later. And then there's three teams that are 4-6: Dean, Brett, and Chris. You guys pretty much need to win out right now. Dig your heels into the ground, make a run. I think some of those teams may be able to, some of those teams will not. We'll get to that in a little later. And then Otley, who's lost 7 in a row. Stop me if you heard that before. Otley loses again at 3-7. So let's jump into it. The Turnersville Sportsbook is 34-16, 4-1 last week, just rolling right now. And if I predict you to win, get a pretty good chance of winning. So pay attention. We're going to jump into it. A matchup of, and let me just say one more thing. There's a lot of potential matchups of the week this week. I'll go through it. A 5-5 versus a 5-5 matchup, a huge matchup. Terry versus Pearson. Not only does each team need to win to better themselves, their own chances of making the playoffs, but they're playing an opponent of theirs that is going to be jarring for a playoff spot against them. This is almost a must-win game for either of these teams, especially for Pearson, who has a little bit less points scored on the year. Jumping into it, my notes say both of these teams are on 2-week losing streaks. Both teams were 5-3, now they're 5-5. PP has his craftiness hasn't paid off. That's in my note card here. What do I mean by that? He's tried to make some trades, hasn't worked out. This week he's playing Brian Hill, good pickup. That's crafty pickup. He spent some money for him. Is he going to give him what he needs this week? Not sure. He had Jalen Samuels. That was another crafty move. This is a compliment for you, Pearson. You're scratching and clawing. You're making good waiver moves. Some of these guys just haven't paid off. With Emmanuel Sanders injured, will that be enough? And New England's D was really giving Pearson a big boost. They had 4 points 2 weeks ago. Then they were on bye last week. Now they're in Philadelphia. Another tough matchup for them. Drew Brees should have a bounce-back week. This is kind of the week of the bounce-back. But on the other side, Terry, Ezekiel Elliott, should also have a bounce-back week. Before last week against the Vikings, he had 100 yards rushing in 3 straight games and scored 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games. Last week, neither a touchdown nor 50 yards on the ground. I think he has a bounce-back week. Cooper Kupp got goose-egged last week. The week before that, he was on bye. The week before that, he had 220 yards. He will not do that against Chicago, but he will also not be goose-egged. I expect him to have a bounce-back week. And look, I really like Terry's pickup of Derek Carr. He picked up Goff after I cut him, and he realized he sucked, so he cut Goff. He got Derek Carr at home against Cincinnati. I know that Derek Carr is not Lamar Jackson, but Cincinnati is a complete dumpster fire. I think, I alluded to this, I think Terry's team can bounce back, get a win. I think Pearson's team, he does have a chance here with Brees. Marlon Mack has been good, not great. He's the 14th ranked running back on the season. Can he get it going against Jacksonville? We don't know who the quarterback's going to be there. And, no Kittle. He's relying on Jared Cook. Gurley hasn't been the same. And can Hopkins get it going at Baltimore? He has players. He has players that can do it for him. I'm going to take Terry. I think it's more likely to happen. And that is going to put Pearson in a bad situation going forward. So, Terry here to win in Week 11. Moving right along, the matchup of the week runner-up. That would be my brother Jake versus Zach. The first and third teams in the league squaring off against each other. Jake just gave me a little tidbit. I was going to say something about it, but his note is a little funnier than mine. He said he has 7 wide receiver threes. I'll read them to you. Cortland Sutton, Michael Gallup, Mohamed Sanu, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry, Allen Robinson, and Sammy Watkins. You try to pick 3 or even 4 out of that bunch. All guys that have bad quarterbacks, besides Sanu, I guess, or maybe Gallup, I guess, as well, and or are second fiddle on their team. Juju wasn't the number 1 for him this year. He's made some trades to acquire Allen Robinson. Mitch Trubisky is the worst quarterback in football. Sammy, second fiddle. Never know what he's going to do. So Jake, as of now, has Juju in his lineup tonight. Could be heartbroken. He could catch a touchdown. He's kind of been shooting in the dark on that one. Moving over to Zach, he's got Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. You know, they're going against each other this week. Right now he's got Lamar in. How could you not? He's a cheat code. But to have those 2 guys on your team to make that decision each week. I think Julio has a bounce back, but Matt Ryan is on Jake's team, so that kind of could cancel out. I think DJ Chark has a nice week against Indianapolis. Crowder's been good. Devontae Parker's good. I want to take Zach here. I really do, because I can't get ahead of Jake unless Zach wins. But the running backs, James Conner's not healthy, and he's playing tonight. I say he's not healthy. He's not 100% healthy. He's playing tonight. I don't know if Zach's going to be disappointed in that performance or not. And Sony Michel at Philly, Sony Michel doesn't do anything when he plays in good matchups. Sony was on Jake's team. Now Zach is counting on him. I got to take Jake in this one. I know that he's getting enough from his wide receivers. They haven't been great, and he's got Christian McCaffrey at home against Atlanta and Leonard Fournette, 2 probably the biggest volume rushers in the league. Maybe throw in Dalvin Cook or Ezekiel Elliott, but those guys are in the volume top 5 for sure. So I'm taking Jake here in Week 11. Moving on to Otley versus Chris. This is a battle of the 9th place and 10th place teams. 7 in a row for Ott, losses, most points against. Chris has had some bad beats. He gets Saquon last week. He had 12 carries for -1 or 1 yard, I think. 1 yard, not -1. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short there, Saquon. And he just, he gets Mahomes back. Breida's now down again. Brandon Cooks has still got a headache. He's had some chances here with some big performances by Patrick Mahomes, and obviously Tevin Coleman's had his share of performances. He plays Arizona at home. He's got to play Ronald Jones. He's been good for him, but I don't know if this is the week against New Orleans. And, Mike Evans could see a boost with Marcus Lattimore out. That could be a big boost there for Chris. I told Ott I wouldn't pick him again until he won a game. Josh Allen at Miami. Good pickup, sneaky pickup by Ott. He also has John Brown to pair with him. That could be interesting if those 2 hook up. Alvin Kamara. I said the week of the bounce back. Alvin Kamara is going to have a bounce back week. And I think Otley's going to have a bounce back week. It's 2 months late. It's 2 months too late. But he's going to bounce back this week. Chris, I've been picking you. I picked you last week in a big game against Jake, and you fell short. This is your chance to plant your flag, beat Otley, a rival of yours, and have a chance to make the playoffs. If you lose this week to a team that's lost 7 in a row, you don't deserve to be there. This is your chance, Chris. I'm pumping you up. Make the right decisions. Otley, I think you win this week. Don't screw up my record. I'm taking Ban by Berry in Week 11. Moving on to eating W's versus Check Out My Big Johnson. Another consideration for the matchup of the week until I looked at these 2 lineups. Both lineups for these teams are very decimated. My dad has been relying on Lockett and Metcalf. They're both on bye. He's been relying on Aaron Rodgers, who's come up short from the last couple weeks. He's on bye. Alshon Jeffrey's in his lineup right now. He has a bad ankle, and he's going against Stephon Gilmore. I don't even know if Dean's going to have enough people to field a roster. He's got Austin Hooper, who is down, and Ty Johnson, who has a concussion. And, oh, by the way, David Johnson, he's playing, but is he really? Dean's team is in the dumpster. He's relying on guys like Joe Mixon, Jordan Howard, Adrian Peterson. He's got Goddard in his lineup, Chris Conley in his lineup. The only chance for Dean this week is if Phillip Rivers connects with Keenan Allen for a big, big, big game against Kansas City. And it is possible. But you're projected 83 points right now. Brett, your team's not much better right now. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, what can you say? He's a disappointment. He's got Washington. Here's a big chance for him, I guess. Philip Lindsay at Minnesota. Ugh. Beckham, I'm wearing his jersey, man. I have him in another league. He is the wide receiver 26th on the year, and the only reason he's that high is because he plays every week. 5 for 50. That's his favorite line right now. Auden Tate, Kalen Ballage. Whoo! I'll tell you, I said spoiler alert. Hey, look, Brett does have Derrick Henry on the bench and Russell Wilson on the bench. If A.J. Green ever gets healthy, if Josh Gordon ever, he's kind of third fiddle now in Seattle. Sounds like Lockett's going to be fine. The loser of this game is probably eliminated. I'm going to take Brett. Truthfully, I talked about what teams can make a run. Even if Brett wins this week, I don't think he can make a run. I think he's probably going to fall short of the playoffs, just giving you my honest opinion. But I think he wins this week and keeps hope alive for one more week, and who knows what can happen next week. Miracles happen. Which brings me to the next game, the matchup of the week. I have people texting me about this game saying, you need to beat Kevin this week. I'm afraid that Kevin's going to make the playoffs. Other people, there's murmurs in the league that are afraid that Kevin's going to make the playoffs. He is a 2-time champion. He has the best matchups this week that I think I've ever seen. And a lot of people say that. They're like, oh, my opponent has great matchups. Maybe they'll fall short of expectations. I'm just throwing it out there. Josh Jacobs at home against Cincinnati. Okay. Melvin Gordon at home against Kansas City. Then his receivers that are phenomenal. Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas, Julian Edelman. They're going to have big weeks. Michael Thomas at Tampa Bay. So, I mean, look. One of these things, and Tyreek Hill at LA Chargers, Monday Night Football. Something has to go okay for me in this matchup. I'm kind of drawing at straws. I have Chris Carson and Devontae Adams on bye. They're probably my second and third best players, respectively. Dalvin Cook could have a big game. I need him to have a big game. I have Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel. If Emmanuel Sanders and George Kittle don't play, maybe that's an avenue for me to get a win. O.J. Howard, picked him up. Not excited about it. Needed a tight end. Evan Ingram's banged up. Devin Singletary against Miami. That's intriguing. Look, Kevin texted me earlier this week. He said, how are you going to pick yourself to win this week? Kevin, spoiler alert, I am going to pick myself to win this week. Things do happen. Strange things do happen. On paper, you're the favorite. But if a couple of these guys, maybe Hollywood Brown catches a long touchdown, Jimmy G, 4 touchdowns last time he played Arizona, missing some weapons, probably not going to happen. Planting my flag, straight cash homie. For the sake of the league, I must do it. People don't want Kevin in the playoffs. I don't want Kevin in the playoffs. I need to plant my flag. I need to win this week. If Kev wins this week, he, depending on what else happens in the league, he could find himself in the top 4. So that's my predictions. I promised a pick tonight. The card says go with the Steelers. They've won X amount in a row. They're playing great defense. The Browns are underperforming. They barely beat Buffalo last week. Could have lost if Hauschka kicked the field goal. The Browns are still favored by 3 points. Take the Browns. See if it goes down to -2.5. Take that. I think they're going to win the game. I'm going to bet a money line, but I like Cleveland tonight to beat the Steelers. The Steelers' offense is not good. The Steelers' defense has been good. Short week, crazy things happen. Go with Cleveland. That's my pick for the night. Those are my predictions. Guys, enjoy the game tonight. It's a little bit of a snooze fest. I hope you like defense. Odell Beckham Jr. catches a touchdown pass? I sure hope so. Good luck, everybody. See you next week.